We are camped in Genesis chapter 1. In the last release, we looked at 4 things on God's creativity that we can reflect in our work life. First, our creative capacity is limitless, even when we are limited by resources or by work boundaries. Second, our creativity begins when we decide to be creative and when we are internally driven or internally motivated to be creative. Then we are created to create good things. We can use our creative capacity to create not good or bad or even evil things. That is a very dark space, and that is talked about in the Bible. And in workplace, it's awful. King David experienced it. We'll talk about it in one of the future episodes, where the workplace can become very toxic when instead of creating good things, people start to create things that are cruel or not good or just not good. Then the fourth was we can trust God and persevere in creating. I'm going to tell you an example today where you will see how perseverance paid off. And it's not about increase or more, but we persevere in creating because of wholeness, completeness, and just this feeling of satisfaction and joy that creativity gives us, this completeness in our joy that creativity gives us. So in this episode, we are going to continue to see how we can be creative at work. I am going to start by reading some verses from Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 to 26 and 27. This time, I'm reading the New Living Translation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Then God said, "Let lights appear in the sky. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years." Then God said, "Let's make human beings in our image." God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. So in 2010, IBM did a survey among about 1,500 CEOs to find out the most important leadership qualities that they looked for or they wanted in a team member. Among the top 3 qualities that was mentioned by these 1,500 CEOs was creativity. We often think that creativity is for geniuses like Mozart or Einstein or Picasso. In our minds, they're musicians who made history or scientists who've changed the trajectory of mankind with their inventions and discoveries, or artists whose paintings we are mesmerized by. But right here in Genesis 1, we see that we are all of us are made in the image of God, and like our creative God, each of us, all of us, have an unimaginable creative capacity. So, even if all of us are equipped to be creative, most of us just have an ordinary life, an ordinary job, a routine, or even maybe an uninteresting job. So the question is, how do we bring creativity into this space? So the first thing to do is to draw from our internal and our external resources. Our internal resources, what do I have? Who am I? What is my personality? What is my talent? What is my gift? What did I learn in school or in college? What did I learn from my friends? All of the internal things that we have within us to draw from it. And our external resources. What do I have around me? What is there that I can use? Or what are the ideas that I can create from what I'm seeing? This is what God has given us, what's within us and what is around us. The thing that changed my thinking was a book that I read in 2011 called Creative Thinking by Michael Michalko. He wrote that we are all born with a mind that is like water. Our thoughts are fluid, combining completely different ideas and creating connections that we never thought of before. In fact, that's how all of us are as children. As a child, Leo Tolstoy would cover an armchair with shawls and turn it into a carriage. 3 chairs in front of the armchair would be the horses, and then he and his friends would go off onto their imaginary adventures on cold winter evenings. So, as kids, Tolstoy and his friends brought together chairs and horses, distant lands in the living room, an action-packed adventure with just a shawl, chairs, and a room floor. That's pretty awesome. But that's how we were as children, just like Tolstoy, combining, integrating anything that we could see and creating a rich world within us. Then Mikhailko observed that as we grow up, unfortunately, we tend to become ice cubes in a tray. Our ideas become frozen and compartmentalized. We forget to combine concepts and ideas from different, unrelated fields. For example, I don't ever think about reading when I hold a pine cone in my hand. But Louis Braille did. Braille accidentally blinded himself. He was so sad and so discouraged that he could no longer read. One day, a friend handed him a pine cone. Braille began to feel the pine cone with his fingertips, and he could sense the tiny but different scales on the cone. So then he thought, why can't I make each alphabetical letter feel different? And so was born a whole new writing system, a whole new world for people who are blind, because somebody thought of mixing together pine cones and reading. Let me share with you another invention, the pill camera, or popularly called the pill cam. Gabriel Iden, an engineer, had worked on building guided missiles. During his sabbatical, he was living in Boston. His neighbor was a gastroenterologist. This doctor talked about how difficult it was to examine a patient's stomach and intestines with a camera with a wire attached to it. Gabriel realized that he could compress the technology for guided missiles to the size of a pill, and that should work. It took Gabriel almost 20 years to make that happen. Can you imagine? 20 years. He persisted, but he did it. Imagine that, blending ideas from two very different fields, medicine and missiles. Got a camera into a little pill, and it has helped thousands of people today. You see, God has created everything there is. God's creation was born out of nothing. The Bible opens with the words, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Later, in Hebrews 11:3, we read, "It is by faith that we understand that the universe was created by God's word, so that what can be seen was made out of what is unseen." God needed nothing and no one to create. Theologians call this ex nihilo. It means creating out of nothing. For us human beings, creativity is not inventing something out of nothing. It is creating something out of what is already created. In Ecclesiastes 1:9, Solomon wrote, "There is nothing new under the sun." He wrote it in the context of history and futility. We see the same in the area of creativity. Nothing is created new under the sun. Everything that has been created by blending ideas and concepts or materials. When we mix together ideas, materials, concepts, and designs with the knowledge that we have, we give birth to new ideas, new concepts, new materials, and new designs. Just like how Louis Braille created the writing system for those who were blind, or Gabriel created the pill cam for those who needed to see what's going on within their body systems. So if you are wondering about how to be creative, think about how you can blend ideas from different fields or different time periods. Then ask God to help you, because God will help you like he helped Bezalel. So let me tell you one more story about Bezalel from the Bible. Yes, that's a name you probably never heard of, neither had I until I read about him in the Bible. Bezalel, along with other folks, was commissioned by God to build the tabernacle and all its furnishing. Here is what God said about Bezalel. "I have filled him with the Spirit of God. I have given him great wisdom, ability, and expertise." This gift from God was not just for Bezalel. It was for his whole team, all the craftsmen working with him. In Exodus 36:1, we read, "The Lord has gifted Bezalel and the other skilled craftsmen with wisdom and ability to perform any task in building the sanctuary." See, God can equip us with not just creativity, but with wisdom and creative abilities and people to support us in our creative pursuit. And that is not all. It's just not in the present. Into the future, God honors us when we use our creative abilities that He has given to us to create good. You see, many generations after Bezalel had died and gone, the author of the book of Chronicles in the Bible writes about a bronze altar made by Bezalel. And maybe 4,000 years later, you are hearing me talk about Bezalel. God honors us. God honors us into the future when we use our creative capacity. And God credits us our creative work just like Bezalel and his crew were credited for their creative work. So ask God to help you build your creative capacity. God will do it. When you head to work or you start your workday at home, remember, God created everything out of nothing, but we create by mixing ideas. So ask God to help you mix and blend ideas or materials or designs or whatever you need to be creative in what you're doing. God will help you build your creative capacity, and He will guide you in using your creative capacity to bring joy and satisfaction to yourself and to others around you. So that brings us to the end of this episode. And I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel, our YouTube podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and look out for Bible at Work and follow us on Facebook and on Instagram and on X. We've just launched, and we would, if you liked what you heard, we would love to continue to produce more of these for you so that we can grow together. And that's the other thing. I want to grow along with you, and I too want to learn from you. So drop your comments on what you think about creativity or how you have used your creative capacity at work. So in the next episode, we will be talking about the last few verses in Genesis and how that applies to our work. And it's fun and it's interesting. So I'll catch you then. Until the next episode, bye.